Okay, trying to get my electrical work done in my greenhouse here, and I need some conduit bent, about a 90-degree angle on one of them, and more or less on another piece here that I'm going to be doing. And there's a couple ways you can get this bent. Probably the simplest is just to buy yourself a bender, and they're right around $35 here at our Menards. But since I don't do a lot of this, only occasionally, hate to spend 35 bucks on something that's going to sit around. Now, you could buy it, be really careful with it, don't wreck it, then take it back and say, I can't use it, and get your money back. Another way is, while you're at the store, you know you need a bent piece, just take it over by the pipe bender and carefully bend a piece on the end wherever you need it, and hope they don't question you about it. The other way is they do make, you can buy pre-bent 90-degree angle conduit. I think they come in 90 degree and 45 maybe. And you get a piece, probably about this long, and it's bent, and I forget the exact price, but that's over $3 just for that little piece. Plus then you got to buy the connectors to connect your straight run, and I think that's kind of pricey for that little piece of pre-bent, since a whole 10-footer only costs about $210 is what I paid for this. Alternative is to make your own. Here's my first homemade one. Just have a 2x4 here, drilled a hole, and I have been bending it with this, and the hole, when you drill that, you're going to want to use a drill a little bit bigger than your conduit. This is 1/2-inch conduit. I got a 3/4 inch drill, so it's almost exact. You don't want to go too big. If you go too big, I tried an inch hole, and then the stuff wanted to kink too easy. The conduit would kink, and we're going to try to avoid that. A pipe bender won't kink at this. The nice thing about using a pipe bender, you can bend that, and it works really well. But you don't need a lot. You only want one or two. So we're going to try this again. Got me a 2x4 here. I tried it on lighter wood. It was actually a piece of maple, just a regular board with 3/4 inch, whatever they are. But that split. I thought maybe being hardwood would work. So what I'm going to do, start up a little ways so that we got enough strength here. I'm going to start my drill at an angle because we're going to want this to round off. I'm kind of working that around here, then we'll straighten this out as we come around. And I just kind of got to eyeball it, I guess, is all I'm doing here. And we want this to be straight in though, because we're going to have to bring that pipe in through there. We've got to bring that up before the drill gets too far in. And I usually check the bottom. I like to drill it from the other side too, so I don't get it all ripped out. Yeah, coming through there. Don't hold your hand under there. Now, to further clean this up a little bit, my trusty jackknife here. The first one I used my, got one of those double-bladed saws, and I used that to carve this out. But so we're going to see how this one makes do here. And you're going to have to watch. This hole is pretty close to the size, the outside diameter of the conduit. So as we bend this conduit, here's one I was trying early, and I see I had too big of a hole here, and it kinked on me. And this one I was doing with my old one. And as you bend it, it's going to flatten out a little bit and expand on the edges, so it's going to get a little tight in here. So I'll bring it around. The other thing is, as we bend this, we're going to want to start like that, and you can either pull the pipe. I'm going to put the pipe on the ground and do the 2x4, but I'm going to bring it down this way bring it down. Well, let's see once. Maybe I'll just do it this way for once. I'm just gonna bring it down here a little bit and then bring that pipe up. And we don't want to kink. So, you know, this is working pretty good. I'm going to start over again. I've got to be careful because once that's bent, it might want to kink when I do this. Okay. And, okay, just get a little tighter. Actually, my first one was working a lot better, but you get the idea here. And we don't want that to kink on us. It's trying to. But if you only needed one piece, and use your imagination here, and of course you don't want to wreck your. Well, went over. Well, maybe not. Okay. Slide that all the way through that way. There you go. I went over a little bit. You can see it's not quite at a 90. We can bend that back a little bit, step on it, and adjust it a little bit. Well, now for a do-it-yourself job, there you go. Rather than buy the stuff, you're in a pinch. Just do it yourself. Try it this other way once. Speaking of wasting conduit, but let's try rather than doing the pipe, let's do a 2x4. And I might be able to use these sometime. See, I think I took might have went in a little too deep with the angled part. I should have made it a little bit shallower. Oops, there we go. Let's see. Almost there. Actually, this works a little better than the first way I was doing it. Let's see what you're doing better here. So, yeah, that one looks a little better. Could have went a little bit further, but. And since your wire, if you push your wire through, or whatever, however you do it, wire is going to be going around this way, so it's more than likely going to be pushing on this nice smooth surface and go right around. So there you have it. Do it yourself. Pipe bender. I'm going to go back to my old one here. This worked a little bit easier for some reason. Okay, so let's say we need a piece of conduit from that box. And we're going to run it up the side wall here, all the way up to the rough line. Bring it over along there, and to the middle of that bar there. So I want to put a light outside. And I also want to run some conduit up along the roof ridge here, put a couple lights up there. So, I already bent the conduit, and here's the piece I'm going to use. You can see there's multiple bends in it. So I got to cut that length right there. It's going to have to be shortened up a little bit, but I'm going to put my box up there. I find the little bit tricky part for me is from here to where to start your bend so it finishes right, measuring that. And if this was just a straight piece with just a 90-degree angle in, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'd just make sure I had it long enough, then I could cut it to fit. But this piece I wanted to be pretty accurate because it was going to have to go right back there. I'll put it in that type of thing. So you want to measure the conduit There's about an inch maybe that goes into that thing, so you have to make sure you take that into account, how much you're going to need. So I'll put that conduit up. So here's the finished product. There's the switch box. There's going to be 2 light switches in there, one for the light going outside and then one for the light in the center of the greenhouse. I ran the conduit up the post here, and here's my first bend using my wooden conduit bender that I made out of the 2x4. It worked out pretty good. Brought it up here, put another bend there, and ran that over to this junction box. This is the junction box now that'll connect to the outside light, and then the other wire had to take up across the ceiling of the greenhouse. And here's a piece of conduit that I bent using my bender. It's a shorter piece. I just made a piece long enough to go up to here and then connect the conduit up. This is a scrap piece of conduit anyway. So I bent this bend first, and then figured out about where I wanted to bend it here, bent it a little bit to go under that bracket, and then bend it to come down into the box. That worked out pretty good. You had to tweak it a little bit to, get everything lined up right, but it wasn't too bad. Here's the conduit going across the ceiling and the ridge. Luckily I could squeeze it through there. There, tweaked it a little bit here to bring it back to the center of the ridge, and then into that box there, and that's where I'm going to hang my light. So it can be done if you don't want to buy a conduit bender. The nice thing about the homemade one, we'll go back here once and look. Some of these bends have to be a little bit like smaller, or smaller radius, I guess I'd say. And the bender is only going to give you 1 radius. And if you're careful and don't kink the conduit, you can make a little bit smaller radius just by going slow and taking your time. And that's how I did it here. See, it's a smaller radius. Get bender under there a little bit better and bring it down to that box. So that works out pretty good if you don't want to buy yourself a bender, or end up paying about $3 for these little 90-degree bends. Been working on this for a while. Put this whole thing together myself. No help, except for the slab. I had that put in. This is from Greenhouse Mega Store. Got the little heater up. But I did have them put in the, I had somebody come and put in the gas for that. Wasn't going to mess around with that myself. Put some of that silver bubble wrap on the back wall, the north wall. Still got a ways to go. A couple plants in here. Been holding pretty good at about 56 degrees at night. Making or tightening it up. So there you have it. Hope this ain't making you dizzy.